Good day, everyone. I am Jennifer M. Star, and I will be presenting examples of real-world application in systems analysis in education. And later on, my second topic is on case studies on the positive implementation of systems analysis in education. To begin with, let us have the definition of systems analysis in education. It offers a powerful framework for understanding and improving complex educational environments. The real-world applications of systems analysis in education can be divided into four, but it is not just limited to this. You can also think of others as the real-world application. For example, it is mainly on curriculum development and evaluation. We use system in developing curriculum and to evaluate its effectiveness. We also use system in improving school management and innovation. Another application is the enhancement of student support services and as well as technology integration. So this explores practical applications of systems analysis within the education sector. Let's first begin with the systems analysis in curriculum development and evaluation. Systems analysis can be used to design curricula that are aligned with learning objectives, student needs, and societal demands. It provides structured approach to evaluating the effectiveness of existing curricula. Here are the situation wherein curriculum development and implementation is being done. One concrete example for this is the situation on implementing a reading program. First, as our input, we identify the problem. In identifying the problem, the school notices that its students consistently score below the district average in reading comprehension. So that's the problem. Issues in reading comprehension. For the data collection, teachers administer diagnostic tests and analyze students' performance data to pinpoint specific areas of weaknesses, such as vocabulary, fluency, or critical analysis. Parent surveys and teacher feedback sessions are conducted to gather additional insights. So there, under input, we have identifying the problem and data collection, knowing the information to look for the needs to be addressed. For our process, we can set the objectives. For example, increase the percentage of students scoring at above grade level in reading comprehension by 15% within one academic year. Another is the selection of the resources. This might involve choosing new textbooks, online resources, and supplementary materials. Another system under process is development of lesson plans. These plans include activities, assessments, and differentiation strategies to meet diverse student needs. Continuation of our process is the teacher training. This includes training on the program's philosophy, instructional strategies, and assessment tools. Another is the classroom instruction. Teachers implement the new reading program in their classrooms, following the lesson plans and using the selected resources. For our output, under systems analysis, we can use formative assessment or we can produce the following. Through formative assessment, teachers used quizzes, class discussions, writing assignments, and the like to monitor students' understanding and adjust their instruction accordingly. We also have summative assessment. At the end of the year, students can take standardized reading comprehension tests or test to measure their overall progress. And as the main output, we will be having the analyzed data. The school analyzes the assessment data to determine whether the program achieved its objectives. Then, it is very important that in the input process output, in our systems analysis, we have the feedback gathering. This would be for the improvement of the process of the reading program. We might have the following: program review. If the objectives were met, the program is continued. If not, adjustments are made. Then we have the adjustments that might be providing additional teacher training, modifying the lesson plans, or selecting different resources that are more suited to the needs of the learners. Let's now have the second application. We're done with sample application of curriculum development and evaluation in the systems of school. Now, our second practical application is on the improvement of school management and operation. Systems analysis can streamline administrative processes, optimize resource allocation, and enhance communication within the schools. One best example for this is the resource allocation and budgeting in school. Schools also follow a certain system on how this could happen. First, for our input, we might look into financial resources. It could be from funding from tuition, grants, donations, and other sources. Another for the input is the needs assessment, requests and proposals from various departments. Examples for this are academics, athletics, facilities that would outline the resources needs. What needs to be prioritized? For our process of resource allocation and budgeting in school, we can conduct budget planning, developing a comprehensive budget based on the school's strategic goals and priorities. We can have the resource allocation, distributing funds to different departments based on their needs and the school's priorities. And another, monitoring expenditures, tracking expenditures to ensure they align with the budget and making adjustments as needed. Let's go further with the output. Once the budget is approved, this would outline how the school resources will be allocated. And for the resource distribution, funds, equipment, and personnel distributed to the appropriate departments. And yes, feedback is still important in resource allocation and budgeting in school. One best example for getting the feedback is the result of the financial reports evaluation. Reviewing financial reports to assess whether resources were used effectively and efficiently is timely and needed. Department feedback means gathering feedback from department heads or any units regarding the adequacy of their allocated resources and the impact of their program. So it means we will be getting response from the end users or the one who had received the resource allocation and budgeting in school. Now let's have the third practical application of systems analysis in education setting, particularly in the schools. We can also use systems analysis in enhancing student support services. Systems analysis can help schools provide more effective and targeted support to students with diverse needs, including those with learning disabilities, emotional challenges, or socio-economic disadvantages. So the main point is how we can provide support and services to our end users or the center of the curriculum who are the learners. First, let's identify our input. The students are the ones needing personalized support and guidance. We could look and dig deeper what kind of support they will be needing. For the resources, this could be the presence of the trained advisors, the teachers or the counselors, advisory curriculum, meeting schedules, and communications tool that we can adopt in the implementation of the advisory programs in schools specifically. Then for our process, we can conduct regular meetings, holding regular advisory sessions to build relationships, provide academic support, and address social emotional needs is also one of the processes. Then we have mentoring and guidance. Advisors providing one-on-one mentoring and guidance to help students set goals, make informed decisions, and navigate the challenges. And communication and collaboration is the facilitation of communication between students, parents, and teachers to ensure that there's a coordinated support system. And for our output, we can produce a personalized support, tailored support and guidance for each student based on their individual needs and goals will be given. And yes, there would be an improved student engagement, increased student engagement, motivation, and connection to the school community would be one of the measurable output in this advisory program in school as an example of enhancement of student support and services. And for every process, there's always a feedback. Student surveys would be one of the best indicators to gather feedback since they are the ones receiving the support and the services. Collecting feedback from students regarding the effectiveness of the advisory program is essential. Advisor input or the comments, gathering input from advisors of the challenges and successes of the program to inform improvements. If you can see on our previous discussions, sometimes we also end in the input or the data or the data that we can use on how the succeeding program would continue. So feedback can also be in the form of input, since it's also a data that would tell if the program is still needing interventions or development, or the feedback is already saying that the program should be continued and maintained. Now, I will be giving the fourth practical example or application of the use of systems analysis in education setting. That is the technology integration. Systems analysis can guide effective integration of technology into the classroom, ensuring that it enhances teaching and learning rather than simply adding complexity. For our input under the use of educational apps and softwares as a specific systems process and technology integration, our input would be surveys and needs analysis again, collecting feedback from students regarding the effectiveness of the apps or what would be the apps they would be needing in the implementation of this policy. For example, what apps would be helping the student academically? and what would be allowed by the institution, since most of the learners are now using the artificial intelligence. Then feedback from the expert, it could be the observation. This technology or the integration of technology really helped in the implementation of the use of educational apps and softwares in school, particularly with the teaching and learning process of the learners. Now, let's have the process. We can use the process of integration, incorporating the apps and software into lesson plans and classroom activities. Student training, teaching students how to use the apps and software effectively and ethically. Activity implementation, using the apps and software for specific learning activities such as math practice or language learning and the like. And process and progress monitoring, tracking students' progress and adjusting instruction based on data from the apps and software. Now let's have the output. We can see that if we apply educational apps and softwares in teaching and learning, skills development would be evident. It can improve skills in specific subject areas, not just in mathematics or in language, but in specific subject areas that would use education apps and softwares. Another is the student engagement. It would be increased, and the motivation through interactive learning experiences will also happen. For the feedback, we can use performance tracking, monitoring students' performance within the apps and the software would give us another input of the things that we need to prioritize, improve, and maintain. Then teacher observation, observing how students interact with the apps and software in the classroom. And student feedback, gathering feedback from students on their experience with the apps and the software. Which items would they think, which app would they think they find it difficult to deal with, and which are the user-friendly apps. So they can give feedbacks on that. Now let's dig deeper to the second topic, the success stories implementing systems-based improvements. Since the school is using systems analysis, let us see some instances where improvements were documented. I will be presenting to you 4 case studies or situations where the implementation of systems-based improvements were evident. First is the improvement of the graduation rate. Another is the teacher effectiveness through professional development. The third is optimizing resource allocation. And the last is the K-12 implementation. To begin with, let's first dig deeper into the implementation of the systems-based improvement in improving graduation rates in high poverty district or places within departments of education. The challenge here is many school districts in the Philippines face challenges with low graduation rates, particularly in areas with high poverty levels. Factors contributing to this include, first, socioeconomic factors. Example, poverty, malnutrition, and the need for students to work to support their families causes them to stop from schooling. Another factor is accessibility, distance to schools, especially in rural areas, and lack of transportation. Last is academic support, insufficient resources for struggling students, and inadequate learning environment. The first step is to identify the challenge and applying the systems analysis approach. In the Philippine context, we can use data analysis. DepEd can analyze data from Basic Education Information System, or the BEIS, to identify specific factors affecting graduation rates in high poverty districts. Another is the use or the activation of stakeholder engagement, engaging with local government units, parents, community leaders, and NGOs to understand the specific needs and challenges of the community. To continue, after this, we can develop the intervention design. Best examples would be early warning systems, implementing systems to identify students at risk of dropping out based on attendance, grades, and participation. Mentoring programs, utilizing volunteers, teachers, community members, or older students to mentor and support struggling students. Credit recovery program can offer alternative learning pathways such as the Alternative Learning System, or the ALS, for students who have fallen behind, and increase access to college and career counseling. This could happen by providing guidance and resources to help students make informed decisions about their future. After the intervention design, we could devise the monitoring and evaluation by regularly tracking the impact of interventions through the BEIS, or the Basic Education Information System, and making necessary adjustments based on the data. And expected results could be the increased graduation rates, improved student attendance and academic performance, and greater community involvement in education. As we analyze the situation, it always starts with the data. Then after gathering the data, we design something. It could be an intervention or a program that could address the needs found in the data. And at the end, we always have the monitoring and evaluation as well as the feedback gathering. So we followed a certain system on how we could increase or improve graduation rates in a high poverty area in the Department of Education. Let's now have the second case study. Enhancing teacher effectiveness through professional development. One of the best challenges encountered is how to attract and retain high quality teachers, especially in rural and underserved areas in the Philippines. There are such factors where teachers decide not to have their professional development. First, they lack professional development opportunities. They have inadequate compensation and benefits for them to continue CPD activities, and of course, limited resources and support, including the time constraints, because they have their activities or duties as classroom teachers. To continue, let's have the systems analysis approach in the Philippine context to solve this issue on enhancing teacher effectiveness through professional development. First, we conduct needs analysis or assessment, conducting surveys and consultations with teachers to identify their professional development needs and preferences. And the next, program design. This could happen through mentoring for new teachers, pairing new teachers with experienced mentors to provide guidance and support. Ongoing training, providing training in areas such as instructional strategies, classroom management, and the use of technology in education is one of the best technical assistance that teachers could receive. among their leaders. Then we have collaboration and peer learning, creating opportunities for teachers to collaborate and share best practices through learning circles and professional learning communities. And the last, support for advanced certifications, providing financial and logistical support for teachers seeking advanced certifications or graduate schooling. To continue, we have the implementation, providing teachers with release time to participate in professional development activities. So this could be in the form of in-service training, wherein teachers were being scheduled to attend trainings outside their teaching duties. So it's a specific schedule given to them. Then we have incentives, offering incentives such as salary increase or promotions for teachers who complete professional development programs. And in the Department of Education, we can see this one. Professional development is one of the scoring metrics that the ranking committee would be using to identify if teachers are promotable. So it's one of the criteria under education, training, and experience, the ETE qualifications. Then it's also part of application of education and application of learning and development, which would bear high points if you would ask yourselves to be promoted. Then let's have evaluation, assessing the impact of professional development programs on teachers' effectiveness and student outcomes through classroom observations, student surveys, and performance data. From the previous analysis, we start from data gathering, then looking into the designing of programs, projects, or activities or intervention, implementation, and at the end, there's always the evaluation and the feedback mechanism for the improvement of the process. And for the expected results, there would be an increased teacher retention rates, improved teacher effectiveness and job satisfaction, and enhanced student achievement. For the third scenario or case study, implementing systems-based improvement in optimizing resource allocation. The first challenge, the foremost challenge is the budget constraints, or having that schools face budget issues and must find ways to allocate resources more efficiently. So we cannot have that operations if the school is lacking budget. That's the first and foremost. We cannot implement programs, projects, and activities if there's no budget at all. So how we can solve this issue? We also apply systems analysis approach by resource mapping and cost-benefit analysis. Under resource mapping, we can identify all resources, including personnel, funding, facilities, and equipment that would be available or will be having a chance to be given to the schools. Then for cost-benefit analysis, evaluating the cost effectiveness of different programs and services to determine which one would provide the greatest impact on student outcomes. For example, your funding is limited, you must conduct a cost-benefit analysis first. Which of the following lineup of programs, projects, and activities would directly impact the learners? What would you choose? For example, a feeding program, or a feeding program for the learners, or for example, an induction program for officers. So you only have a limited budget and you have to choose. Will the induction program directly benefit the teaching and learning process, or the feeding program for the learners will directly affect the teaching and learning process. So it's the school head or the people involved to decide. That's an example of cost benefit analysis. Who would benefit most and what is the degree of impact the benefit could have for our end users. And now for the continuation systems analysis approach in terms of resource allocation, of course, we must prioritize funding. Allocating resources to programs and services that have been proven to be effective in improving student outcomes and optimizing staffing as well as improving facilities, ensuring that schools have the right number of teachers and support staff to meet the needs of their students, and investing in the maintenance and improvement of school facilities to create a safe and supportive learning environment. And at the end, after we resource allocate those priority improvement areas, we monitor and evaluate, regularly monitoring the impact of resource reallocation and student outcomes and making necessary adjustment based on the data. So the decision making is always which would directly benefit or have a significant impact on student outcomes whenever we reallocate funding. Expected results would include the reduced budget deficits, improved student outcomes since they are prioritized, and more efficient use of resources since we develop a plan or a systemic strategy on how to reallocate. And the last case study is on the K-12 implementation. For the challenge, the K-12 curriculum, which added 3 years, including the kindergarten, the grade 11, and grade 12 to the basic education system, aimed to align the Philippines with global standards, but faced implementation challenges since now we are experiencing such. If grades 11 and grades 12 will be abolished or established or just improve the process since the outcome is not yet been seen on the graduates. So for the systems analysis approach, one thing we can do or the one being implemented is the curriculum review, regularly reviewing and updating the curriculum to ensure it meets the needs of students and the demands of the job market. Teacher training, providing teachers with the training and resources they need to effectively implement the curriculum since we are having the already the revised K-12 curriculum wherein our curriculum's essential competencies for learners were decongested with the alignment on peace education, resiliency education, and the like, as well as strengthening of the guidance or the GMRC aspects, and the reduction of the number of subjects in the key stage 1. For example, in grade 1, we only have 5 subjects. Then in grade 2, we have 5 subjects. In grade 3, we have 6 subjects. Intermediate 4 to 6 have 8 subjects, up to grade 7 to grade 10. And the grades 11 and 12 also have their priority subjects. So those are some of the salient changes to make the curriculum decongested and more engaging for learners. To continue, let's have the resource allocation for the K-12 implementation, ensuring that schools have the necessary resources such as textbooks and equipment to support the curriculum, and stakeholder engagement again, because it's a salient part of the education system, the participation of the stakeholders, engaging with parents, employees, and other stakeholders to ensure the curriculum is relevant and responsive to their needs. And expected results improve student readiness for higher education and workforce, and increase global competitiveness of Filipino graduates, making sure that every grade 11 and grade 12 Learners would land a better opportunity even they will not continue college since they will be equipped with the workforce abilities from their additional hours in their work immersions as part of the improvements in their K to 12 revised 11 and 12 subjects. For the conclusion, on the implementation of the systems analysis in education and how system would benefit the school, the principles and methodologies of systems analysis offer a powerful framework for addressing the country's unique educational challenges. Yes. And embracing a systems thinking approach enables DepEd to create a more equitable, efficient, and effective education system that empowers all Filipino students to reach their full potential. To sum up, all processes in the school follows a certain system. As you can see on the case analysis we presented, we start with the input, we have the process, we have the output, and we also gather feedback, and we put emphasis on the concepts of needs analysis, program designs, monitoring, and evaluation as one of the salient features and the cycle of systems analysis in education. So to make it short, everything that happens in school follows a system, and if we know the system, we can apply it in a great way. So once again, here are my references. I am Jennifer M.O.S. Star, presenting to you two topics in systems analysis in education. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone. Good day. Once again, thank you.